Hi, church family. I have been thinking about you all a lot, and I will say this. One of the things that I've been thinking about is that even though this is a new experience and unlike anything most of us have ever experienced before, it is not new to God or God's people. This is not the first pandemic. This is not the first worldwide global crisis. It is not the first time God's people have wondered what will happen. And we know from the Hebrew scriptures and from the stories that we read in the Bible that God remains with God's people, and God shows up and God provides. And so that's been a bit of what I've been holding on to lately, is the reminder that God has been through this before in different ways, and we know that God remains with us. I'm also very aware that when I think about what God is asking us to do in this time, I recall the greatest commandment, to love God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourself. And I think that we can continue to worship and pray, and that this is a critical time for that. But I think that when we think about loving our neighbor, it looks differently right now. And so we may be asking, well, what does it mean to love our neighbor if we can't take food to our neighbor, or if we can't share a meal with a neighbor, or open our home up to people, or go do an in-person visit in the hospital or prison, or serve a meal at the bridge. So I think we're having to think creatively, and I think we're having to listen to the Spirit tell us what it looks like to love our neighbor. But I think for that reason, the phone calls, the notes, the letters, the financial support that we can give to places like the Stew Pot that are working really hard behind the scenes to feed people who are hungry, there are still many, many things that we can do. It just may look or feel differently. So think about what God is calling you to do in this time, and you will think about things, and the Spirit will show you things that I haven't thought of. But the one thing I can say with certainty is that we are called to love our neighbor, and that God will provide and show us the way to do that. I do want you to know that you have been on my heart and in my mind, and I am thinking and praying for all of you. And if you haven't heard from me but want to connect, I hope that you will email or call, and I certainly will make myself available when I can. But until we speak or see each other again, peace be with you, my friends.